Paul?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just waiting on motions, Mayor.
Beg your pardon?
I have no motions yet. so-
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And Councillor Regina indicated that she'd be pulling her new solutions.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Councillors, I'd like to bring this meeting of the Corporation of the Town of Lincoln to order and ask you to rise and the audience to rise for the national anthem. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome those of you in the gallery this evening. It's always it is nice to have community members present as often as we can get you here. On my right is Councillor Tony Brunet, Councillor Lynn Timmers, Councillor Dave Thompson, Councillor Rob Foster. To my left, Councillor Wayne McMillan, Councillor John Pachariva, Councillor Diane Rinchema, and Councillor Paul McPherson. On my right is William Colossa, the Clerk of the Town of Lincoln, and on my left, Michael Kirkopoulos, our CAO. The staff that are present tonight in the gallery, we have our Deputy Clerk, Gary Del Bianco, and sitting in front of him is the Deputy Fire Chief, Bill Blake. In the background here, we have Mr. Assad Hussein, who is the Director of Sport, Recreation, and Culture, Fire Chief Greg Hudson, and we have Angela Safani, who is our Acting Director of Finance. Is that everybody? Okay, thank you very much. Councillors, is there any declaration of interest? Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Concerning the Finance and Administration meeting, the Rotary Club is receiving a grant from the town, and because of that, I have to declare conflict with that item, as my wife is on the board of directors of the Rotary Club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. And on this side, any declarations of interest? Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, I expressed an interest at the council meeting of September the 19th, and it's with respect to the Planning and Development Committee of Monday, September 12th, report PL 16-44, zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision application by Lozani Homes, because the property that they're developing was owned by my brother.
Very good. Thank you very much. Councillors, the confirmation of the agenda. Are there any changes proposed? I'd like to propose a change to the agenda. I'd like to move number 18, announcements, up to right under the mayor's report. Are there any objections? All right, the clerk will take note of that. Adoption of the previous council minutes. I have a motion moved by Councillor McMillan and seconded by Councillor Renchima that the minutes of the September 19th, 2016 regular meeting of council, including the confidential addendum thereto, be adopted as circulated. Any questions to the motion? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Councillor Renchima?
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I had three motions that I brought forward. As chair of the Finance and Administration Committee, I've been thinking about ways that we can come forward to the budget process with a complete list of all the initiatives and priorities that I've heard around this table. And I've decided that I'm going to go through a different mechanism to achieve this. So I'm going to be talking to our CAO in the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk about that at that time.
All right, that's very good. Mr. Kokopoulos, do you have any comments at all?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Staff had reviewed Councillor Regima's motions, and I know I had a number of conversations with Councillor Regima, both in the preparation of these motions and leading up to them today. I can tell you on the three motions, staff are working definitely in terms of intermunicipal and intramunicipal transit to ensure that when we come forward in the budget process, that those items are captured. I know it's something that we've heard through the work of both Councillors Brunet and Pakchariva in terms of active transportation. Mary Easton, you and I had a meeting last week with the Intermunicipal Transit Working Group, and they spoke to looking at transit from a systems perspective, and I know that's what Councillor Regima and I spoke to today. And so I look forward to that conversation with her and to moving both intermunicipal and intramunicipal transit forward from a systems perspective. As it relates to the two other motions, we're going to be providing council an update in camera later today as it relates to the OP and potential end to that OP and approval through the province. So I did want to highlight that ever so briefly. Kathleen will be back later this evening and she'll be able to provide you a further update. But that'll allow the work on the zoning bylaw to go forward, and I know that's something that's been on councillors' priority list and something that's already into our work plan and incorporated in our 2017 work plan. And as that relates to the CIP, and the CIP works, the mixed-use CIP that was presented at Economic Development and Planning a few weeks back. Staff have heard definitely council's concerns and comments as it relates to our intensification corridors and the appropriate phasing of the works, and we think we've got some, I think, amended wording that we'll be presenting at the next committee meeting that I think addresses what we heard from all of council, but also allows us not to limit ourselves should something come forward that requires us to think a little bit outside the box. So all good motions, but all things that we're also working on. So I look forward to talking with the councillor and then coming back during budget with some of this information as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kokopoulos.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Diane, thanks for your initiative. And I think your decision is a good one. It'll get everything that you need in your role as the Chair of Finance. Thank you very much. We have a notice of motion, re-zoning bylaw, transit and intensification. I'm sorry, these were the motions that Councillor Renchima was talking about. Sorry, I was reading something else here. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Mayor's report. And I would like to everyone to take note of some of the citizens that are in the audience this evening. We had the occasion to be looking at an additional member for the Lincoln Library Board and members for the new Active Transportation Advisory Committee. So at this time, I would like to introduce Jennifer Thiessen. Jennifer, if you would stand, please. And Jennifer is the newest member of the Lincoln Public Library Board. Thank you, Jennifer, for putting your name forward, and I hope that you have a very positive experience in that regard and will be able to bring your expertise to the table. Thank you so much. And in addition, the Active Transportation Advisory Committee and those who have confirmed that they will sit on the committee include Connie Groves. Connie, if you just put up your hand over there. There's Connie. And Andrew Bowles. Andrew, thank you very much. Thank you both for agreeing to sit on the committee. Brian Jaworski. Brian, thank you very much. And Lawrence Larry Chettle in the back there. Thanks very much, Larry. That's great that you're joining us. And Brent Craig. Thank you, Brent. I must note that I really like the age range of people that are applying for these citizen positions. We really want to have a good cross-section, and it's great to have people that have small children who are going to be impacted by these. It's good to have business involved. Thank you, Larry. It's very, very encouraging. Tonight for the Mayor's Report, I'm going to keep it very short. I want to just tell you about an initiative that you're going to be seeing more about called Go Purple Day, which is on October the 19th. And we have this T-shirt here, and the T-shirt says, #Break the Silence, #Break the Silence in French. And it's all about preventing child abuse. And so the Family and Children's Services of Niagara have requested that we speak about this and reinforce the importance of preventing child abuse. I was disturbed by these numbers. Last year in Niagara, approximately 9,000 children were seen by Family and Children's Services due to concerns about their care and safety. And child protection services were provided to 4,000 families, and 75% of those children were able to remain in the care of their parents with help and support from FACTS and the community. Citizens, I say to you, this is a very disturbing number. And it's extremely important that our families under a great deal of stress get the support that they need. So I'm pleased on behalf of Council to support this initiative, and keep your eyes open. Wear purple on October the 19th to show your support as well. Under the announcements, we have been working on a project that falls under the jurisdiction of the Center of Excellence for Agriculture, which is very, very important to the growth of our community. And one of the sectors that requires growth, where the members of that commodity group, if you will, have an interest in this and are wishing to educate the town and the council to a greater extent about the economic development opportunities. So I'm going to ask Mr. Kirkopoulos to talk about an economic development delegation to Holland, which is going to take place at the end of the month, and how it's structured, and who will be attending, and who will be paying. Mr. Kirkopoulos?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Let me take a quick opportunity to share as much information as we have at this current time, and some of this information is definitely fluid as we finalize who's coming from the various institutions. But just to go back in terms of where this initially came from, and that really stemmed from a conversation that the Mayor was invited to by 4 of our greenhouse horticultural companies in the community, and that is Cosmic Plants, St. David's Hydroponics, Sunrise Greenhouses, and Prinz Greenhouses. And out of that conversation and that invitation came the request for a delegation to Holland. Since that time, there's been an individual that works with Prinz grow houses by the name of Fabiola Prinz, who has really taken the lead in terms of coordinating that delegation. I'll try not to go into too much detail in terms of all the items that are scheduled to be included in that delegation, but they do include visits to and interactions with and meetings with a number of greenhouses with various magnitudes, including Royal Floral Holland. And folks are going to have to pardon my Dutch here because I'm not that good at it, but I'm definitely working on it. The Westlands Museum, Zweethland Greenhouses, the Delta Works, and Intraton Gravenzand, which is another greenhouse operation. Another part of the trip will include twinning operations. So I know that the mayor and council have talked about twinning with other municipalities in Holland, and at that delegation and at that meeting, we'll be meeting with 2 communities. One is Westland, which is a part of Greenport, Westland, Eastland, and another one is Lands-en-Gerland, 2 municipalities of similar composition as we are here that play an integral role in the Netherlands greenhouse operations, breeding and world trading in fruit, vegetables, flowers, and plants. Another part of the trip will include meetings with various ministries at the federal level. We've recently met with Senator Peter Harder, who's the senator from Vineland in Ottawa. At that meeting, he had suggested that we sit down with various ministries and the ambassador and the ambassador's office responsible for foreign trade, and to talk about technology, to talk about various foreign investment opportunities within this particular area and the Niagara region as a whole. As I said, this is a little bit of a moving and fluid operation right now. Vineland Research and Innovation Center has been invited to that trip and delegation, Brock University, as well as Niagara College. We have confirmed from Vineland Research and Innovation Center, Darren Ward, who's their lead from a business development perspective, will be attending that trip with us, and then we are just waiting to hear with Brock having a new president being announced last week, and Niagara College dealing with some issues, who will be attending from those 2 operations and those 2 organizations. Part of our trip will also be attending various local universities within the jurisdiction that do similar work as our universities here and that focus on both agriculture and commercialization. We'll be attending the Wageningen University and Research Center, which specializes in greenhouse horticulture. In terms of who will be attending, from the perspective of our organization, from a staff perspective, it'll be myself, and then in terms of members of council, it'll be Mayor Easton, Deputy Mayor Foster, and Chair of SRC, Dave Thompson. So I'm definitely open to answering any questions. I've tried to give you just kind of a high-level overview of council. As we finalize both Brock University and Niagara College, I can share with council who will be attending that information. We do anticipate sharing more broadly with media and others who will be going. As I know, both Brock, VRIC, and Niagara College will be sharing that information more broadly as well.
Any questions of Mr. Kirkopoulos?
When does this take place?
The dates?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I apologize, Councillor. At this point, flights are booked and tentatively scheduled to leave at the end of October, October 31st, returning November 7th.
I'll just remind you and inform the public that the invitations that we have out to the other stakeholders, those people will be paying all of their own expenses. The councilors, myself, and Mr. Kirkopoulos' expenses, I understand that I believe those monies are coming out of the economic development budget, which have already been approved in the 2016 budget. Anything else? If there will be more, Mr. Kirkopoulos will be preparing a report that has all of those details in it. Councillor McPherson.
Just a comment, it's exciting to see that we're reaching out to develop economically, and that we are, going out there to talk about our town and what we have to offer these businesses and to learn. So, I look forward to, a good visit by the delegation, and obviously some results coming out of it over the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Foster.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm kind of excited about with this too is getting into discussions with these other municipalities as well, and start talking about some of the best practices that they're using to help encourage within the community. I mean, we all know horticulture is so big in Holland, and it's very big here now as well. So it'll be really neat to see some of the things that they can do. I've never been a big believer that government should be, the spender of money as opposed to the providing the incentive for businesses to do things. So anyway, I am really quite looking forward to this as well.
Very good, Councillor. And I would also note for the committee that, or for council, that it's very important in these next 2 years for us to begin to create a bit of a revolution within economic development and planning, so that we are putting some very deliberate emphasis on economic development. And as you say, Councillor McPherson, we need to be able to measure what the outcomes of that are. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm also looking forward to this trip, because certainly the technology levels that are implemented in Holland comparatively to where we're at here are, some of the folks here will exaggerate and probably say 100 times ahead, but certainly they're way ahead. And to be able to bring back information to assist the local businesses that we have here, from an efficiency standpoint, and certainly looking for investors over there to come back and assist over here in investing in some property and some operations is something that I'm looking forward to try and stimulate. So
I think it's important to know as well that we have a lot of land here in Lincoln that is not developed. We have a lot of control around a good deal of our land. And we need to make sure that the land that's available is going to be, we're going to improve the production on it, and that it becomes more of a high gross yield, whatever that is. And if we start looking at the locations for greenhouses, and that's what these gentlemen came to speak to me about, we need to be prepared when they bring their development applications forward, that we truly understand what it means to grow in a greenhouse in the 21st century and be ready to respond to that. This is a great opportunity for investment in our community, and we certainly don't want to miss any opportunity. I just want to note that Mayor Ray Conkle is sitting in the audience, and certainly this whole initiative started back when he was the mayor, and it was a big deal, really, going and bringing in those investors. And when you look at Westbrook Greenhouses, in fact, all of the greenhouse operators that came to speak to me, including St. David's, eventually they all ended up in Lincoln. They're very serious about what they're doing, and they're really prepared to spend the money that it takes. So we need to be out there in our enabling role, which is really what the Center of Excellence is very much about. So I must apologize publicly for not being more forthcoming with the council about this. You may have been asked some questions. My apologies for that. We'll do our very best to make sure that everybody has all the information that they need. Thank you very much. There's no regional councillors report this evening. I just want to make sure that those who were here for the committee announcements, you're certainly welcome to stay. Who knows? In 2 years, you might decide you want to come and join us. But if you need to leave, please feel free. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to councillor reports, and I'm going to start with maybe Councillor Foster for a change.
You kind of took me by surprise, Mary Easton.
Yeah, I usually ignore you, don't I?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I think it's a personal thing. Okay, so speaking of personal, I just want council to know that my banishment to Vancouver has pretty much completed, so I will be around now right through the budget process and that type of thing. So we had a very successful implementation of our computer system in BC, but my intention is not to be going back for as long as I possibly can. So just a couple of things to talk about this evening. First of all, 20 Valley Tourism. Just to let you know, Mike and myself are invited to the 20 Valley meeting on this upcoming Thursday. What they're working on within 20 Valley right at the moment, we're continuing with the strategic plan for the organization. There's a planning session set for October the 11th as next steps within that area. 20 Valley itself is attending the Ontario Motor Coach Association down at the Scotia Centre coming up very soon, and that the whole idea is to promote 20 Valley within that particular group. The Wrapped Up in the Valley is coming up November 12th to the 22nd, 2016, and there's a variety of things that are going on within that. And the Winter Wine Fest, of course, is being planned out for January. Our talent is booked already, but I'm not at liberty to say what it is until the official announcement later on this week. So, but suffice it to say that we have some excellent talent coming in again. Second thing I want to talk about, and I want once again thank council for their support as I got onto the AMO board. I was at my first AMO meeting in Toronto this past Thursday, Friday. Thursday was the teaching me how to be an AMO board member meetings, and then on Friday was our official first meetings as we're going on. Just to let you know, and you know, you're never always quite sure what a board is or how it behaves as you get involved with it. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work is done by the AMO with the provincial government. There's memorandums of understanding that are worked on and developed between the organizations. Some of it is obviously confidential as it goes on. However, the input that goes to that is through members of the board, such as myself, as well as general working with CAOs across the province, as well as councils across the province. So the big issue on Friday was the discussion of federal infrastructure and the Phase 2 design of what it's going to look like. It's identifying local funding priorities. They're very much, the province is looking at our local asset management plans right across the province at this point in time. Anyway, we're trying to make sure that the federal programs are aligned with the local needs. And again, it's important that our group is involved with that. AMO, most of us know this, but the AMO is the one that distributes the federal gas tax across the province. And actually, from the discussions that I've been through, it's a model for the rest of Canada. Apparently, it doesn't work near as easily with other provinces across the country. but it's being held up as being very good. We had the annual report that was given to us, as well as the audits that have gone on with a variety of municipalities, just to make sure that everything has worked and behaved the way that it's supposed to. The other thing that goes on at these meetings is we have discussions on a variety of policy issues. WSIB, we had a presentation from Hicks Morley that was quite fascinating on the workplace environment. Expanding medical services across the province and how that fits in with within the municipalities. National Housing Strategy Consultation. I was thinking of you, Mayor Easton, when that discussion was going on, and how the funding is being looked at within that. The Health Task Force. There's also the AMO gets to talk about legislation. So there's Bill 13, which is the door-to-door backbenchers bill that has been put forward to ban certain types of door-to-door sales going on, particularly within for furnaces, for those other types of things. So again, quite interesting. The other thing I was going to tell everyone is that there was two parts of the AMO that I didn't know anything about, and that was quite fascinating. One was there's an organization called MEPCO, which is part of the AMO, and that's the Municipal Employer Pension Centre of Ontario. This is a consultative group to the handling of monies around the OMERS pension fund, etc. So it is quite interesting, one of the offshoots of this. The other is another group called LARS, which is the Local Authority Services, and it's a preferred provider of competitively priced and sustainable cooperative business services for Ontario. So again, these things are items that, you know, all of a sudden is kind of new and exciting, and some of them I will be discussing with our CAO, particularly as we're moving towards the budget process. Last thing I wanted to talk about briefly was OSUM. It's coming up next year, May 3rd to the 5th in the town of Blue Mountains. I'm the one that books the keynote speakers for that, and we have Mike Harcourt, the former BC Premier, as well as the former Mayor of Vancouver, is going to be our keynote speaker. Mike Harcourt, post his time as the Premier, has been involved at the federal level on planning issues across the country, and he's actually an expert on a variety of things, including some of the urban-rural issues that we see and they see across the country. And the convention is about, the title of it is Where Urban Meets Rural. So anyway, it has a lot of, I guess it has a lot of resounding with us. So anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. I can't say enough about the importance of intergovernmental affairs and the important role that it plays in the growth of our community and ensuring that Lincoln is well known to everyone across the province to the greatest extent that we can. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Further to that point of intergovernmental affairs, certainly I was pleased to be invited to a function last Thursday in celebration of 26 years of public service by a member of Provincial Parliament, Ted McMeekin. The event was attended very, very well, certainly by an awful lot of ministers, and the Premier came and spoke, talked a lot about Mr. McMeekin's integrity and his knowing his why he was in public service, and from knowing that, he was able to certainly make a huge difference in his community's growth and moving forward. The second thing that I was able to attend was an open house at Verhoff Electric's new location in Jordan. It's great to see the repurposing of a basket factory into an electrical supply and business, and certainly it was great to see there was an awful lot of people in there I just couldn't believe how many people showed up for that. It was, the place was packed. So that's great to see that being reutilized. And on Saturday, I scooted by Pioneer Day bright and early in the rain, and was obviously pleased to see former Mayor Conkle peeling apples as I managed to get the first plate of apple fritters. Certainly, it was a great event, and even with the rain, there were still a lot of people out enjoying the sights and sounds and education of what they do there with regard to our community's history. So,
Very good.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Lynn.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. I was also at the Verhoff open house, and I just wanted to comment that that building is just absolutely spectacular. I was blown away. It is just absolutely beautiful what they've done there to reuse that old building. I was so impressed. It was gorgeous. Anyway, and it was very well attended. There were a lot of people there. Really, really nice event. Last Wednesday evening, I believe it was the Chamber of Commerce AGM at Rockway Glen Golf Course. Another really nice event. I got to listen to I don't see him. Oh, there he is. Mr. Frascione speak to us regarding Prudhoms. So that was a really nice evening. I was really, really happy to be there. I was also at Pioneer Day. I spent the entire day down there. It was, as usual, a fun-filled day. There were so many things going on. The music by our Lincoln Concert Band, and of course, Jim Bucknell was there with his steam engine, and the apple fritters. There's big lineups for those apple fritters. Yeah, it was just wonderful, wonderful. And I didn't see any rain, so I guess I missed it. But I was there with the Heritage Committee, which I'm part of, as well as with the Canada 150 Committee. And we were looking for people to volunteer for the Canada 150 events that are going to be happening in honor of Canada's 150th birthday. So that's something maybe you might want to consider. We're also going to be having 2 open houses at the Fleming Center coming up. So if anybody wants to get involved with the Canada 150, there's a lot of fun and exciting things coming. So that's it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Brunet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I just would like to report back on our West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Community Advisory Committee meeting of September the 21st, just to bring everyone up to speed on what's happening not only at the hospital, but what's happening at Hamilton Health Sciences to continue to move the new hospital down the road. So just a couple of highlights of the meeting of September the 21st. Approval has been received from the Ministry of Health for the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital $5 million infrastructure project. These are funds that were approved back in 2014. They're coming out for tender right now as we speak. Work should be starting early in the new year. $5 million worth of electrical, mechanical, heating, air conditioning upgrades, some nursing stations and all that. So $5 million worth of work. So that's a very good sign. Hopefully the Ministry of Health wouldn't be investing $5 million in a hospital we're going to demolish. Let's hope. Discussion with regards to Patients First Bill 210 and the impact on the LHINs. I see the CAO sent out an email this morning with regards to the LHINs. For those that of you are not familiar with the LHINs, the LHIN is the Local Health Integration Network. It's right on Main Street, and as you approach Grimsby, we're part of one of 14 LHINs in Ontario. Our LHIN is a very large LHIN serving 1.4 million people, and we share the LHIN with Hamilton, Haldeman, Niagara, and Brant County. So it's a large, massive area. There's discussion that we are going to go to a number of sub-LHINs, which would involve breaking that massive territory up into smaller LHINs, which would include Burlington, Hamilton, Brant, Haldeman, Norfolk, Niagara West, and Niagara. So there was quite a bit of discussion about that. There was also good news that the CAT scan has been approved by the LHIN and is now sitting with the Ministry of Health for approval. Again, that's a very good sign. You know, that CAT scan is well in excess of $1 million, but moving forward to keep that thing going is massive dollars. So if the Ministry of Health approves that. That's a very, very good sign for us in a hospital coming down the road. In terms of Hamilton Health Sciences, the clinical vision of the integrated primary care model for the West Lincoln Hospital continues to focus on 24-hour emergency care, community surgery program, teaching and education. We're now part of Hamilton Health Sciences, the advanced diagnosis, the CT, maternal and newborn programs, special ambulatory clinics, including mental health, palliative care, and healthy aging and seniors care. Moving forward with the new facility, the Ministry of Health has a 5-stage capital plan. We are now approaching stage 1B, so there's a long way to go, but there was a meeting in December with the West Lincoln Memorial and the Hamilton Health Sciences Board to talk about how we're moving this forward and continue to get education on this program as we move forward to a new hospital. So that's it for West Lincoln Hospital, as well as the other councillors have already reiterated. I had the opportunity to go to the Chamber of Commerce AGM at Rockaway last week. It was very informative with our guest speaker speaking about Prudhome's and what we're going to see down the road. So it was always great to get out and talk to the business leaders in our community, and also had the opportunity to take our granddaughter to Pioneer Day on the weekend. It was a lovely fall day, and it was great to be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you for your dedication to the healthcare needs of our community. It's good to know that we have somebody there all the time, every meeting, paying attention and keeping the public informed. It's very good. Thank you. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to bring you up to date on a meeting of the Niagara Region 12 landfill site. This is the Citizens Liaison Committee. We met last Thursday, and this, of course, is a committee that there is 4 communities that share the landfill site in Grimsby. So we have councillors from Pelham, Grimsby, West Lincoln, and of course Lincoln. We also have, some of you may know Albert Witteveen, who is our chair. Andrew Wintners is the program manager from the region that joins us at these meetings. Brian Jaworski is a resident that also participates in this committee. So from a quick update standpoint, we did review the 2015 annual monitoring operations report. There's a lot of very interesting things going on up at the landfill site, many I was not aware of, even sitting on the committee. There is a recycling program for hard plastics that was kicked off in 2015, which apparently brought in about 50 tons. This is, pails and toys and things like that are harder plastics. They also have a very interesting bicycle recycling program up there, and apparently there was over 300 bicycles that were brought into that site. The bicycles are then sent out to a gentleman in Port Colborne, out of the Port Colborne High School, and they have a training program in Port Colborne at the high school to fix bicycles. These bicycles then get sent out, and one of the destinations is South Africa. So they've taken in over 1,000 bikes into this program in Port Colborne and have basically recycled them and sent them on out. I thought that was a very interesting program. The actual capacity at the landfill site, we'll all be happy to hear that it is still good for another 50 years. In fact, that is probably grown in its expected capacity because of the good work that's been done on recycling, and they continue to expand their recycling programs. They were up about 1,000 tons of waste this past year, and they attribute that to maybe a greater amount of industrial, commercial, and institutional waste. They are planning to launch a reuse center. So they've partnered with the Grimsby Benevolent Fund, and they're right now looking at where to set this up. It will be before the scale, and basically it's bringing in furniture, household things, They will be assessed at the center as to whether they want them or not, and then if they don't, you can go right into the landfill and take care of it there. But it's a great concept of reusing some of the things that people may want to just get rid of. What else have we got? I think that's probably some technical things. They need to increase the size of the storm pond up there. The MOEs come out, and rather than a 25-year capacity, they want a 100-year capacity, which seems a little out of sight. But the landfill is looking at expanding the pond up there, and they're also upgrading the pump station. And we are looking at a tour of the Durham Waste Facility in November for this committee, and then any others that are interested in doing that. So that was the Niagara Road 12 landfill site. I also attended many of the other events around town. It seemed like it was very busy after our August recess, and we just jumped right back into it. The Verhoof Electric Open House. Again, if you want to see most of the folks that are involved in the greenhouse business, they were at that open house. Pioneer Day, I enjoyed the Lincoln Band at the Pioneer Day. I walked in and they were playing an old Chicago song. It was kind of nice. And then the chamber dinner, we were fortunate enough, Councilor Bernay and I were fortunate enough to sit with some of the board members, as well as a couple that own Lakeside or Lake House Restaurant. It was very interesting to talk to them about that operation. So, thank you.
Well, Councillor, all I can say is when you took on the landfill committee, it's never the most desirable, but it could very well be the most important committee having the greatest impact in our community. So good for you, Councillor Chima.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. If I have a question for Councillor McPherson. You mentioned the plastics recycling, the hard plastics recycling. How is that rolling out? Are people getting the information at their home? You know, put your plastic pails, put your old plastic trucks aside and put them out at the curb, or do you bring them up to the landfill site?
Oh, you bring them up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a drop-off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yes, it's been a busy month, and yes, as the appointed member on the Chamber of Commerce, we're very excited how the AGM meeting rolled out at Rockaway Vineyards. Councillors Brunet, Timmers, McPherson, Foster, Mayor Easton, and Director of Planning Kathleen Dale were there. John Fraccione spoke to a riveted crowd about our secondary plan process and plans for Prudham site. Everyone was very interested in everything that was said and had a lot of really good questions. It almost like a public meeting almost broke out. It was very interesting, and I'm sure that'll be an impetus for a lot of healthy public input in the involvement in the process as it rolls out for that development. I was also at Verhoff Electrical for the open house, and I would encourage anybody who's setting up business in town to have an open house, because those of us that went there learned a lot about, again, the agricultural industry, greenhouse industry. It's really nice to step in and see what's going on and meet people and talk about what's happening in the community, in the business community. We had the two public open houses for the budget. They were fairly well attended, I think. About the same as last year. I would encourage more people to come out to our budget open houses and talk to staff and council about what's happening ahead of time. We have them now. We have them ahead of the draft budget coming out because we want to have more involvement. And I think it's maybe creeping up a little bit with each year. Let's hope. And I'm looking forward to, I signed up as chair of finance and admin. One of the areas in our committee is fire protection and emergency management. So I signed up for the seminar on October 12th that our fire chief sent out, and I'm looking forward to that. That's a full day discussing municipal fire protection and emergency management. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pachuriba.
Thanks, Your Worship. I had the pleasure to attend the launch of the Niagara Community Foundation's Lincoln Fund at the Good Earth Wine and Food Company on September the 20th. Also attended the second speed reduction PIC at the Fleming Center that evening. Budget open house on September the 22nd. Pioneer Day at on Saturday. Councillor Thompson, you must have been there at the crack of dawn, because when I arrived, it was nice out. It wasn't raining. I got my apple from the Cubs. I got my apple cider. I got my apple butter, and I got my apple fritters. So I am set, and thank you to Mr. Lloyd Haynes sitting in the front row, who captured a moment of us eating the cake, and it was a beautiful picture. On Thursday, September 29th, I'm Council's representative on the Niagara Culture Committee. So I attended the meeting. The Niagara Investment in Culture program has been launched again. This is our third year. So the Niagara region has created the Investment in Culture program to build capacity in Niagara's cultural sector, increase access to culture for residents and visitors in all parts of Niagara, promote partnerships between public, private, and governmental sectors, provide support to Niagara culture groups and participants, celebrate Niagara's history, people, and identity. And the aim of this fund, and it's $300,000 that's available, is to support interesting, innovative, and high-quality cultural programming that is Niagara-based, created by, experienced in, and celebrates the arts and heritage of Niagara, inclusive, accessible, and open to the public, collaborative, features shared costs and enhanced partnerships, and accountability, has measurable impact, and is sustainable. The grants are available now to apply for. The deadline is October 24th. I circulated this information at our Canada 150 meeting on Wednesday, which I had the pleasure of attending, or Thursday, because I didn't have anything in the afternoon. But, you know, things like the Sunset Music Series, the Lamplighter, Pioneer Day, I think would all be worthy groups to apply for this funding. Municipality is a 70%, 30% split, so the municipality puts up 70%, 30% comes from the fund, and then not-for-profits are eligible for up to 100% of the funding. And as one of the, I've also been selected for the second year in a row to sit on the NIC adjudication panel. So I had the experience to sit on there last year. Councillor Hodgson is on there, Mayor Senzik from St. Catharines, Mayor Joyner from West Lincoln, and there's myself, and I'm drawing a blank on our chair of the committee, Joe Henriques. So Joe and myself are going to sit on there from the Culture Committee. And I actually asked to have my name put forward after sitting in that a group last year, and it's the ability to be able to sit there and glean through some of the proposals and then see what they actually do with the money. You know, some ask for the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then part of the ask is that, you know, if we get less money, because we like the money to go around to all of the parts of the municipality and help as many groups as we can, that they will deliver on what they plan to do. So be interesting to follow up on that. And I would just like to apologize personally to Mr. Fraccioni there in the back row that I missed your talk on Wednesday night. I was planning to attend the Chambers meeting. I had a late sales call in London at 5:30, so hopefully I can drop by the Woodburn Cottage and get an update in person, John. So I apologize. I will bring some type of food and beverage to make up. So thank you.
Very good, Councillor. I'm glad you're on the Money Committee again. Hopefully we'll have some good submissions. Councillor McMillan, you get the last word.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. On September the 19th was our last council meeting, and at that council meeting, we had a delegation of John Rediger was here who spoke to us about the Alzheimer's Society of Niagara and gave us some of the facts on the impact of that deadly disease and also their fundraising effort, which is their coffee break. And our town staff took it upon themselves to, again this year, to carry out the event for the Alzheimer's Society. And I'm pleased to announce that they raised $134.50 at coffee break time on last Wednesday. Those funds will be sent off to the Alzheimer's Society of Niagara. And special thanks to our town staff for coming forward on this for this event. And I too was at the Pioneer Day. I was there after the rain. There was lots of good things going on. One of the nicest things about wandering around in an event like that is just talking to the residents and talking to visitors to our town too. Gives us a chance to brag about what's going on in our town, and a lot of interest on our plans for the new museum. So good time. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we move on now to delegations. I'd like to thank delegates for being patient with us. We always have this discussion about how long people might wish to wait or not. However, as I've been known to say before, I think it's very important that citizens understand and know what the councillors are up to, how committed they are to their work, how well you're being represented, and all the different places that they can find themselves in a given week. I'd like to call upon Lloyd Haynes, chair of the Jordan Historical Museum of the 20 Volunteer Association, with Ray Conkle, to come forward at this time. Thank you, Andrew. See you again. Now on the agenda, this is listed as donation for ground penetrating radar survey, and this is a project that I'm going to have Lloyd describe. But before that, I want to just mention that there are times in a community in the cycle of events where sometimes the town makes the overture on an important project. Sometimes it comes from a group of volunteers. Sometimes it comes from one of our clubs and organizations that provide leadership in the community. In this case, the ground penetrating radar survey was initiated by Ray Conkle. He made the contact. The Volunteer Association had been working for some time with the Heritage Trust, the Ontario Heritage Trust, around issues that had to do with the stability of the bank in the 20 Valley, right behind the museum. So it seemed that the most reasonable and logical thing to do was to have this radar survey. So I'm going to let these gentlemen talk about it a little bit, and then I think there might be a check out there somewhere. We're going to see.
Check is no, there's no check.
No check.
Thank
Please
you,
go
Mayor
ahead,
Easton.
Lloyd.
The credit really goes to my colleague and Vice Chair of the Jordan Historical Museum of the 20 Volunteer Association, Ray, who, through his personal connections, was able to access what's a tremendous program by Niagara College. The ground radar survey of the museum grounds certainly answered some questions for us. It's interesting to note that the range of the existing graves up the west side of the property, and it's also interesting to know that the row of tombstones on the south lawn are just a row of tombstones. There are no graves there. So there's a story that somebody must know as to how the tombstones were placed and how long they've actually been in that situation, whether they were fished up out of the valley or in danger of going over the valley precipice. Somebody has rescued them, and I suspect, and it's interesting to have some data to back that up.
So I've asked Ray to tell us a little bit about the project, and it's with a great deal of gratitude that Ray was able to make this happen, and the cooperation and the interest from staff here in town. It wouldn't have been possible without working together in a partnership, and it's kind of nice to see what we can do when we work together. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Haynes, and members of council, Mayor Easton. It's gratifying to see the breath of fresh air flow through this building. The volunteers of the Jordan Historical Museum of the 20, thank you very much for your cooperation in succeeding in doing this. The museum could not be built without having this site inspected. So whether it was a year from today or 5 years from today, something had to be done. Ian Smith and I, a professor at Niagara College, go back to '81 when I started at the Niagara region. And I got to know Ian and his family. In fact, I went to his daughter's first birthday party in Hamilton, where his mother and father resided. We became very good friends. He taught me all I know about computers was how to press enter. And all kinds of strange things happen. And he suggested the type of computer I buy. And you people won't recognize the name, but 8088, the old IBMs. And that's the first one we bought, $2,200, and he coached me through how to work that. I still have his letter, and I still have the books he gave me how to run it. So he's a great guy. He really knows this stuff inside out. And there are many places in Ontario that would do well to hire his firm or the college to do some of this work, because there's a lot of stuff hidden under the ground and we don't know just where it is. Anyhow, with those words, and Mr. Easton is here with us as part of the committee. I think he's also here for other reasons, but we thank him for being here. Who do I give the check to? I think we'll give it to the mayor.
The students told us that the value of the work they did was approximately $90,000 to have it done commercially. The actual costs were a little over, well, I think they were just under $2,000, and the Volunteer Association would very much like to share the cost with the town, and the check is for $1,000.
Before I leave the podium, Madam Mayor, if I may, I would like to present you with something else. I was pleased to hear that you're building bridges, but without stones, without steel, and without concrete, it becomes impossible. This stone is the red stone from the 15-mile creek that we spoke about being part of the new museum. The bridge that it comes from was built in 1867, coincidentally. We're hoping that some of this stone can be used in the new museum wall, the walkway, wherever you and the architect feel it should go, but they're beautiful when they're laid up. The stones I'll be collecting tomorrow come from the nurses' quarters of the Hotel Dieu Hospital, which was destroyed in making way for the new project there on Ontario Street. They're few and far between, unless we take the trestle in the 20-mile creek down. Madam Mayor, I'll leave that with you. You can use it for a paperweight.
You can take that right over to Mr. Hussein. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thanks for the stones. It's nice that we're not throwing stones. I'd like to point out to everyone who's watching that the original agreement was that Volunteer Association would pay a much lesser amount. And we're very pleased that that you're satisfied with the partnership and that you were willing to pay half. So on behalf of council, I'd like to thank you very much for that. And I think the rocks are in good hands, the stones are in good hands now, so we'll see what the art of the possible is. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just as the chair of SRC, I just wanted to thank the Volunteers Association. Certainly, the radar, the ground penetrating radar survey that was done was just incredible as to the depth and breadth of what they did, and the report that they brought forward for us certainly will serve us well moving forward with the Gateway project to the museum. So, thank you again for splitting the cost with us.
Very good. Very much appreciated. The next delegation is representatives from the United Way. Would you like to come forward? Would you introduce yourself to the committee members, please?
My name is Graham Dargavel. I'm a campaign associate with the United Way of St. Catharines and District. I have to apologize. Carol Purser, who is a retired secondary DSBN principal, had to step out for a conference call. She sits on our community, our campaign cabinet. So you get me. And I am just a United Way staff member. And this is not my presentation. It was her presentation. So I will be reading a little bit. So I apologize. But
that's fine.
Thank you.
Welcome, and we're glad you were able to step in. And please don't be concerned. Just
thank you.
Carry
so
on.
thank you for having us tonight. I want to start off by showing you our campaign video from United Way Canada.
They're just coming on now, so we'll just take a second.
Okay.
Okay, we seem to be having a technical difficulty, so we'll go to our backup system. You'll have to give me the signals when you want us to move.
Perfect. So we're moving, and then just click the link. It's a video to YouTube.
I know the impact music can have in a child's life. My husband is a musician and we wanted our son to have similar opportunities. But it can be hard to give your children everything that will give them a good start in life.
I once struggled with drugs and alcohol. At first, I used for fun, but then it started to control my life. I barely recognized the person I'd become.
My life changed the day I lost my husband. I miss his smile, I miss his laugh, but more than anything, I miss his company. I couldn't bear to be without him.
Thanks to an agency close to home, he's having all kinds of rewarding experiences and getting every chance to be the best he can be. We can already see the changes in him.
Thankfully, I got the help I needed to deal with my addiction. And in the process, I reconnected with my culture. And most importantly, I am now truly proud of who I am.
The seniors program got me feeling like myself again. I still miss him, but today I have friends, hobbies, and a reason to smile every single day. Do you know what your donation looks like?
It looks like me.
It looks like me.
It looks like me.
Et nous voulions offrir cette possibilité à notre fils.
And we're having technical difficulties with your computer, so I'll be running the presentation from my place.
Wonderful. So the next slide, perfect. So some quick facts about the United Way of St. Catharines and District. We established ourselves in 1953, and the United Way funds over 70 programs locally. And last year, in 2015, we raised just over $3.5 million, which was our highest campaign ever. We kicked off the 2016 campaign on September 13th this year and announced our fundraising goal for the same at $3.5 million. Next slide. We are often asked how funding decisions are made. Like I just said, United Way funds over 70 different programs and strategic initiatives. First, funds are raised through workplace campaigns, community donors, corporate donations, and through special events and grants. Then, United Way hosts community consultations to find out where we can have the greatest impact. Then, a panel of community volunteers review every funding application and meet with agencies to learn more about the programs for which they are seeking funding. And then, after all the requests have been reviewed, volunteers make funding recommendations to United Way Board of Directors for approval. Then, the results of the donations are invested in local programs and services for a 3-year term. Last year, I know I was sitting with a community investment panel member. We had $3.5 million, and they were asked for over $9 million in funding. So they had to make a lot of cuts and turn down a lot of programs. So it's not an easy task for them. We have strategic initiatives as well, and one is our Backpacks for Kids. Provides new backpacks filled with school supplies to children and youth from low-income families. Distributed through schools and community agencies, these backpacks provide kids and teens the opportunity to share the common experience of their peers, one of excitement for the new school year, while alleviating the financial burden for families. Coordinated by United Way, Backpacks for Kids brings together a number of individuals, groups, organizations, and partners. Together, we have distributed over 27,000 backpacks across Niagara since 2002. Next slide. On the first day of school, Kyle came home with his new backpack. I had tears of joy. Inside were all the items I am not able to afford because after I pay rent, bills, and buy groceries, there is nothing left. Thank you for helping my family. Next slide. Another strategic initiative is our Welcome Home Kits. Provides basic household supplies to individuals and families transitioning from shelters to permanent housing, consisting of dishes, utensils, cups, pots, pans, soap, and other kitchen and bathroom supplies. These kits enable recipients to start their new lives and the materials required to cook and serve meals and to attend to personal hygiene. As a result, recipients are able to focus their limited funds on essentials like rent and food. United Way works with individuals, groups, organizations, and partners to collect new and gently used household items, to assemble the items into useful kits, and to distribute the kits to local agencies to provide to their clients. Since the program was established, over 2,800 kits have been distributed across Niagara to individuals and families in need. We also fund free after-school programs and partnering with community members and organizations to deliver quality educational, recreational, and leisure activities, mitigating the negative effects of low income on childhood development. Over 525 children and youth every year. Current enrichment activities include arts and crafts, cooking, Zumba, and science. Why is this so important? Participation in after-school programs is associated with increased positive outcomes such as academic achievement and pro-social behaviors, and decreased negative outcomes such as dropping out of school and behavioral disorders. We're also really thrilled to have a program called Brushed Aside. It's unique to United Way of St. Catharines and District. In 2013, Information Niagara reported that dental treatment is the #1 unmet need in Niagara. There is a gap of access to service for low-income adults and seniors in need of dental treatment. United Way is unique to bring together local donors, community partners, local agencies, and individuals in need of assistance to help address this issue. This initiative will help address an immediate unmet need and provide people in our community with the opportunity to improve their quality of life. United Way is partnering with the local agencies to offer loans for dentures and dental treatment to low-income individuals with no insurance or adequate coverage. Priority will be given to adults and seniors with infection or pain and those in need of dentures. Repayment plans will be tailored to the individual and will remain flexible throughout the term. No interest. Individuals will be referred to local services if applicable. The indicators of success for this program are more adults will be able to access required dental treatment, fewer missed days of work or school, fewer visits to the ER and the doctor's office, and greater confidence to engage in social interaction such as conversation, laughing, and smiling. And what's new to the 2016 campaign, besides myself, is our 2016 new donor match, sponsored by Beatty's Office Supplies. So it's a $25,000 new donor match. So any new donor donating to the United Way, their dollars will be matched dollar to dollar. So it's really great to see Beatty's, who's done a lot for the United Way in the past, continue to do so. And our 2016 Leadership Challenge, we were lucky enough to work with Donald Zeraldo, who is the founder of Inniskillen Winery this year, and he was asked to be our Leadership Match Fund. So this is very similar to the Beatty's Match Fund, but our leadership donation level is at $1,000 or more. So if you're a new donor at the $1,000 level or more to the United Way, the Leadership Match would fund this program as match your donation as well. Donald was asked to raise $50,000 and host a dinner party, and he was able to contact 26 different wineries and get $130,000 worth of funding. So this year, when you donate to United Way for the first time at the leadership level, $1,000 or more, you're increased your current leadership donation by more than 10%. The wineries of Niagara will provide up to $130,000 in funding. So that's really it for me. Thank you so much for having me come to present tonight, and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Councillor Timmers.
Thank you very much for coming in tonight. I have a lot of personal experience with some of the United Way programs, and I actually spent a few years in Manchester and Old Pine Trail and Rykert, and very familiar with the programs running in there with children and families. And the after-school programs are just for the teenagers that were happening at Manchester, make an enormous difference in their success at school. Mm-hmm. Having someone help them with homework, give them a snack, take them out on outings, or just someone to listen when they've come home from school, and it has a definite correlation between success. So very, very good programs running, and I am familiar mostly with the ones with families and children, but I just wanted, and also the backpacks, I'm very familiar with that as well, the backpack program and the Welcome Home Kits, wonderful. wonderful programs. I'm just curious about the Brushed Aside.
Yep.
That's something I'm not familiar with. It's fairly new. You mentioned adults and seniors. Is that for children as well?
There is some funding for children. Mostly it's for adults and seniors. I do not work with the Brushed Aside program, so I don't want to get into great specifics. I do know that it's preference for seniors with infection and dentures, and then adults who have significant dental problems, because that's a major deterrent to the work engaging in the workforce.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Brunet.
So I see you've got a whole bunch of brochures there and pamphlets, and so without letting you leave, how can we help you?
Yeah, absolutely. We can distribute them. I can leave them here, but just talk to people. And, we work with a lot of local companies. Workplace campaigns make up 60% of our campaign. But just help us get people engaged would be great.
Anyone else? Very good. Thank you very much. And I just want to remind councillors that we can participate through the payroll deduction. And if you identify which and where you want the money to be directed, you can do that. And the Lincoln Community Fund is one that you can choose. I already spoke with Angela about that. So yes, if you want to leave those brochures, if you even want to pass them around just as you're leaving, that would be great. Thank you very much. Obviously, this is very important. This is the annual pitch. I think we expect it to come, and it is very interesting to hear how it is expanding and what a difference it's making.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll move on now to correspondence. Mr. Clerk, any correspondence? And reports, we'll start with the Finance and Administration Committee minutes of September the 26th.
Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Just a moment, Councillor. I'll just read the motion. Okay. I have a motion moved by Councillor McPherson, seconded by Councillor Renchima, that the minutes of the Finance and Administration Committee meeting of September the 26th, 2016 be adopted and the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. Councillor Renchima, for your comments, please.
Thank you. To start out the meeting, Councillor Foster declared a pecuniary interest in report TR 1620, and he left the room and did not participate in the discussion on that report. To begin the meeting, we had the Tony Valley Tourism Association come in and update council on their activities. Lincoln Council is a major contributor through our membership fees and through additional funding for events and marketing. The Tony Valley Tourism Association is interested in increasing the additional funding that it receives, that we provide for it, and it updated us on some of the initiatives it's undertaking that have been increasing some of their expenses, and we'll be talking about that during the 2017 budget process. We're going to be sending a letter of support for an initiative that was supported by Niagara Falls and Fort Erie to ask the Niagara region to create a teen mental health committee. I believe that's going to be an advisory committee, and I don't think they're going to have any problem getting participants. We had an unsolicited request to purchase lands that we own on Lincoln Avenue. We'll have to look at that request during our review of current land and building stock, likely during our upcoming budget process. We had 4 requests for us to sell road allowances. So road allowance are basically another word for pieces of property that Lincoln owns that were laid out at one time to be roads that never became roads, or they can also be given roads or traveled roads that just sort of pieces of property that just became roads and eventually became the property of the municipality. And some people are interested in purchasing them for different reasons, and the process is for committee to consider the request and then decide if it makes sense to carry the process forward and consult legal on the request at the applicant's expense and move from there and move into the public meeting process. For 3 of them, we decided to continue the process and move it on for a legal opinion. One of them we refuse it because we own infrastructure under the ground under that piece of property, and committee agreed that with staff's recommendation in the report that it isn't in the best interest of the taxpayers to sell complete ownership to that piece of property. Then we considered the updates to our accessibility policy to bring it up to date with ministry regulations that came into effect in July of 2016. We then approved an application for a couple that applied for a tile drainage loan in the amount of $24,800 from the province to do some tile drainage work. This is a loan program that we administer on behalf of the province and the region, and I think it's the first application we've had in about 7, 8, 9 years. Good to see it going to use. And then we approved a request from Rotary, Councillor Foster left the room, to cover the cost of providing staffing for the Wingding event at Charles Daly Park in July. And finally, we reviewed the financial report, our quarterly financial report, and we saw nothing of concern. And we approved a request for the fire department to take advantage of an opportunity to use a property on Martin Road in Beamsville as a training facility, and I believe that's on a temporary basis. And that was the meeting.
Are there any questions? Your pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. Mr. Clerk, I take it there's no confirmation of compliance with Section 34? We move on to bylaws. Number 2016-66, to authorize a tile drainage loan, SNUR. I have a motion moved by Councillor Pachariva, seconded by Councillor Njima, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaw. Number 2016-66, to authorize a tile drain loan, SNUR, as well. 2016-67, to authorize the execution of an agreement with Mr. Gary Rollins to allow the use of the property located at 4977 Martin Road North for fire department training activities. Any questions to the motion? Pleasure on the motion? The motion is carried. I have a motion moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Thompson, that bylaw number 2016-66, number 2016-67, read a first time, be now read a second and third time and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. Are there any councillor inquiries? Is there any notice of motion? Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving now into closed session. I have a motion moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Foster, that council adjourn to closed session in order, A, to address personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, matters pertaining to vacancies on the agency's boards and committees, and B, to address litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, a matter before the Ontario Municipal Board. Councillors, your pleasure on the motion. The motion is carried. We'll be adjourning to the Beamsville room. We're going to stay here? Oh, fine. All right. We're staying here. However, you must leave. Thank you very much for attending.